meeting. I'm very happy that so many of you found your way or their way to our group meeting room, that so many are also online connected. I would propose that we change the agenda a bit, because this is not only an ordinary group meeting today, but also a very important initiative. Our group, as you all know and as you are all aware, awards each year the Daphne Caruana Galizia Award to whistleblowers, human rights defenders, journalists. And this year we do it during our group meeting, meaning today. And that's why I would propose that we change the agenda, then I will come after that item only to the announcements of the presidents, and that we can discuss the internal stuff later. So I'm very happy to welcome you all again. Please be aware of the security measures put in place here. There will be interpretation provided in the usual languages, meaning German, English, French, and Spanish, Portuguese, Greek, and I also think Czech. And saying this, I will switch to my mother tongue, which surprisingly did not change in the meantime. It's still German. And ich bin sehr froh, dass wir jetzt mit dem ersten Tagesordnungspunkt beginnen können. Und das heißt, dass wir direkt
for me to kick off with this item on the agenda, which means that we can push on with our initiative. This is a very satisfactory initiative, and it's very significant politically. It is the GUI-NGL Award for journalists, whistleblowers, and defenders of the right to information. This is the third year in a row that we giving out this award, and we're doing it because Daphne Caruana Galizia is a woman who, and a journalist, and we want to honor her memory, but also because journalists in the EU are under more and more pressure. We have to be bold, we have to be courageous, and we have to make sure that sensitive information is published so that we can work democratically. And that is why GUI-NGL decided to come up with this award. And to really make the words of the European Parliament a reality. After Daphne Caruana Galizia was murdered, the European Parliament said it wanted to set up a prize, but it didn't do so. So we had a discussion in the Bureau, and at the last Bureau meeting, we finally decided the European Parliament will set up such a prize. We have attained our political goal, and we've done excellent work as a political group. I'd like to give the floor to Marisa so that she can present this award. Thank you. Marisa.
Muito obrigada, Martin.
Thank you very much, Martin. It's a huge honor for us to be able to continue with this work, our work to support courageous people that we're going to speak about today and those we've spoken about in the past. It's also important to understand that this prize for whistleblowers will now become an official European Parliament prize, and that's something that should have happened from the very beginning. And we've always tried to shine a light on the true heroines and heroes of our time who support democracy and help us to fight for the freedom of expression. And these rights should be ensured in all democracies. I'd like to just say a few words as time by way of an opening. I'd like to thank everyone who's been involved in this. Thank to all members of the jury. This once again was a very rewarding process. It was very difficult once again to choose who should be the winner, because unfortunately there are still many people who are doing fantastic work but need protection. And as I'm sure you can understand, it's not this format that we would have preferred for to award the prize. We would have preferred to meet those people who we are paying homage to, but in times of the crisis, it's difficult to do things in a different way. So therefore, with no further ado, I'd like to say that on behalf of all the members of the group who are involved in this initiative, and thank you to the group in general for continuing to support this initiative, but on behalf of all group members and the jury, I'd like to open this ceremony. To do so, I'd like to give the floor to Corinne Vella, sister of Daphne Caruana Galizia, the person on behalf of who we offer this tribute. So I'd like to say exceptionally this year, this prize is also dedicated to Dr. Li Liang, the Chinese ophthalmologist who highlighted for the first time the seriousness of the coronavirus pandemic and paid for that with their own lives. But no further ado, I'd like to give the floor to the sister of Daphne Caruana Galizia, Corinne Vella, to give us a few words, and thank you for being with us once again.
Hello. Hello and good morning. Thank you very much for once again deciding to commemorate Daphne in this way. And thank you to all the anonymous whistleblowers around the world who are perhaps wondering if they should be telling us something we don't already know. The third edition of this award is particularly welcome because the world seems to be becoming more and more dangerous, particularly given that it's so easy to cover things up now. It's even more important that people speak out when they know something, because this is going to help us all live in a safer place. Unfortunately, not everybody could make it onto the shortlist. I only know who the 6 nominees on the shortlist are. I have not seen the original whistleblowers. But all of those people deserve recognition. So the fact that one person or 2 people, or perhaps 2 or 3 people are going to receive an award today does not mean that everybody else's work is not important. It only means that there is one award, but it really is for everybody. So to everybody who's not on the shortlist, and to the people who made it there, to Omar, Rojas, Bolanos, to Novartis Whistleblowers, Eileen Chubb, Glenn Greenwald, Corrective, Chelsea Manning, everybody else, thank you so much for what you do. You are really helping us to make the world a much, much safer place. And to GUI for creating this award and for recognizing whistleblowers, thank you so much for doing that.
Vielen Dank, Corinne Vella, für.
Thank you, Corinne Vella. Thank you for those very moving words. From a political point of view, they're very, very important words you've just shared. And we echo those comments. I'd now like to give the floor to Miguel, with Stelios and Marisa are part of the team that have prepared this prize, which is the team who've done this work on behalf of the group. So please take the floor.
Gracias, Martin.
Thank you, Martin. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all of those who have made this 3rd edition of the Daphne Caruana Galizia Prize possible. Unfortunately, this time we've had to organize this ceremony online. We would have preferred to do it differently, but unfortunately, it's not possible. But I'd like to thank all the assistants and all the staff who have been involved in this, the communications team. Despite all the problems, we have been able to hold this prize once again. I'd also like to thank members of the jury. They have come forward with many different proposals, and once again they have allowed us to hold this ceremony. As I say, we would prefer to have had people here with us, but we decided that we had to do it, and hopefully in the future it will be done differently, and the prize winners here with us. I'd like to say one thing, pick up on one thing that Martin has said. This prize is an expression of political power. So the Parliament does what it's voted on. So the Parliament does what it said it's going to do. We can't just have a Daphne Caruana room. We need to have a prize for Daphne and a prize for all those who defend right to information, journalists and whistleblowers. And I think it's absolutely vital that finally, 3 years later, after 3 years of this prize, the European Parliament will make it its own. I think that is a commitment we have, and it's a commitment with the family of Daphne. And we say this is not a GUE prize, but now this is a European Parliament prize, and we are very pleased that this is finally happening. It shows that political pressure can have an effect. Now we have this prize, and it's as a result of the pressure from the GUE NGL parliamentary group. We also understand that it's been a difficult decision. Every year we have to decide on who we're going to give the prize to, but we see that every year the right to information is still under threat, and it's still costing people's lives, or people are being incarcerated. Abuse of power, corruption, this is something we see year after year. We're seeing repression, corruption, for example, linked to institutions and democratically represented individuals, mass surveillance by governments, businesses violating environmental rules, sexual abuse, police abuse, and summary executions. Case of tax evasion and tax avoidance. And, the murder of Daphne was as a result of the Panama Papers. Let's not forget also the range of cases, including banks such as HSBC. This bank, which continue with their criminal practice despite the fact that their activity has been uncovered. Shameful practices that continue. Crimes, despite all this, are still not going unpunished. So we need to defend the right to information, defend whistleblowers. Moreover, there also needs to be consequences. There needs to be consequences for those who are involved, for those corporations that are guilty. Before I move on to explaining the reasons behind one of this year's winners, I'd like to refer to the two winners from last year. Rui Pinto, who is still in prison, and we need to denounce that fact. We also need to denounce the fact, the situation of Julian Assange. We need to show how this group has been involved in the case, which will decide on his extradition or not, where there's no international observers who are in the proceedings, and that's something that we need to denounce. Congratulations to those who have won. For me, I'm going to be presenting the prize, and it's we have collectif, and I'm very proud to be able to provide the prize to them. It's the first group of journalists who have focused on non-for-profit journalism in German language countries. They focus on abuse of power, which is possible because of the links they made with other groups. Now, we've seen that work has been absolutely vital to help us to uncover cases such as the Panama Papers, where we're seeing the different interconnections between the platforms of investigative journalists has allowed these cases to be brought to light. So it's important to highlight this. So Correctif have had investigations such as Comnex, which is perhaps one of the most famous. There's 38 journalists across 12 different countries, and they have released over 150,000 documents, and this could be one of the largest criminal plans for tax evasion ever heard of. This is something that's costing all of us 55 billion. It's cost us, all of the European taxpayers. That's me and you. 55 billion. It's important to highlight what this is costing for European taxpayers. So show that there are some clear people who are responsible: banks, international firms, lawyers, investment funds from 11 different countries. They've been collaborating to try and steal this tax money. It's also important for us to mention the co-founder and former director, Oliver Essen, who was one of the key personalities making the Prunex case, making publish. So he has then been prosecuted for under trade secrets. And this is very strange. Trade secrets, that's what he's been prosecuted for. We've been seeing how this House, as a result of the Popular Party, the Liberals and Socialists, have protected trade secrets of corporations with supposedly defending free trade, and they've done this over the right to information and the lives of whistleblowers. These are the individuals who are risking their lives to bring this information to light. In 2018, the cases, the prosecutions were dropped, and we should highlight the error corrected and the pressure they receive from the judiciary, and this has obviously consequences for their personal and professional lives. We also need to highlight that it wasn't the oversight bodies which have highlighted this tax evasion case. It was journalists themselves. We saw it quite recently. Martin, you and I were involved in the most recent plenary, where once again we saw that the mechanisms which are supposedly for oversight fail. They fail when they are involved in these kind of cases. For example, again, the Prunex case. I think it's very important to highlight this. It's also vital to highlight other investigations from Correctiv, for example, Frontex abuses on fundamental rights of refugees, the exploitation of migrant workers in the countryside, specifically in this case in Italy, Spain or Morocco. There's been a range of investigations which have been essential to uncover fraud and injustice and a whole range of abuse. This has significantly contributed to the right to information for all European citizens. This is work that we want to highlight, and this is what we want to protect this work, because that's what we're trying to do with this third edition of the Daphne Caruana Prize. Now, before we go on to the video from Correctiv, I'd like to congratulate them on the prize, but I'd like to also say I think it's vital to recognize their work of investigation, their work to defend the right to information. We also need to understand that this is a vital piece of democratic systems in our countries. Multinationals are attacking this, governments are attacking this right, and by doing so they are undermining democracy, and we are here to defend democracy and the right of everyone to information. Now, with no further ado, can I ask for the Correctiv video, please?
Hi, greetings from Berlin. As current co-editor-in-chief at Correctiv and member of the international team that investigated this story, I would like to thank the European Parliament and the members of the jury for granting Correctiv and the Cum-Ex Files investigation this year's Daphne Caruana Award. This acknowledgement is especially important for us because, as our investigations showed, it is essential that lawmakers are aware of this kind of sophisticated schemes so that they can prevent fraudsters from developing such structures. And it is mostly relevant that they do it at a European level because criminals use the lack of coordination between national authorities to go on ransacking European taxpayers.
Hello, I would also like to thank to the European Parliament and the jury of the great honor to receive this award. My name is Oliver Schröm, and I initiate and directed the international research project Cum-Ex Files when I was editor-in-chief at Correctiv in 2018. Cum-Ex is by far the most important story in my 37-year career. It was a rocky road to success, and the job is not done yet. After my first disclosing cum-ex in Germany in 2014, I was in the focus of the Swiss public prosecutors for more than 5 years. The allegation was espionage. Right before our planned publication of the cum-ex files in October 2018, there were indications that a German authority was also investigating against me. However, that didn't stop us at Correctiv from publishing. It's our job to bring fraud and abuse to light. That is the purpose of investigative journalism and the mission of Correctiv.
I'd like to say that it has taken us journalists too long to learn what criminal organizations realized years ago. That is, that we work better if we do it cross-border. The cum-ex files were the first major international cooperation for Correctiv. It involved 38 reporters, 19 media, and 12 countries. Some of the reporters involved explain why they decided to join this project.
I joined it because we discovered quite early that this was not just like a Danish story. It was surely an international story. It was a European story.
I wrote a big story in the Netherlands in 2006 already. So I was obviously very interested and also intrigued by the whole setup, and basically also amazed that so many years after the thing was still going on. So obviously I wanted to cooperate and be part of that investigation.
Ich meine, wir spielen auch eine relativ wichtige Rolle, weil wir natürlich mit die weltgrößten Finanzzentren in der Schweiz haben, zum Beispiel eben auch in Zürich, also direkt vor der Haustür.
Das ist natürlich eine großartige Möglichkeit, ein Thema journalistisch anzugehen, das man als einzelner Journalist in Österreich alleine sitzend in dieser Form gar nicht angehen könnte.
This was an exciting opportunity for us at Reuters to cooperate with many colleagues from all around Europe to tell the story about an organized group who had made tax reclaims to which they were not entitled, at least in the eyes of the German and other European prosecutors. Only through this cooperation was it possible to give a true impression of the European scale of the story.
We should avoid telling this or that national story. I mean, the good thing would be if we could really tell the European story in numerous European countries. I think that would be that's very important for us.
Thanks again. This award goes to all these colleagues at Correctiv and to our media partners across Europe.
Thank you once again for this award, and congratulations to the other winners.
Ja, vielen Dank an euch. Ich finde, ihr seid würdige.
Thank you very much. You deserve this prize. Thank you, Miguel, for presenting Correctiv. Yesterday I had a chat on the phone with Oliver. Of course, we talked about the cum-ex files because we're particularly interested in this for our political work. It influences our political work, and journalists are still investigating it more. I'm going to give the floor to Stelios, who is connected and who will be presenting the next prize winner. Stelios, you have the floor.
Mr. Kululu, we refresh your connection.
So we are just waiting for Stelios to reconnect.
Are we okay now?
Yes, now we are okay.
All right. Okay. Good morning, first of all, to everybody. This is today an important day. First of all, in Brussels, because it's wonderful to see that despite the pandemic, the award is establishing itself after 3 years as an important move and statement of the European left. It's also an historic day in Greece, today because we're waiting for a Greek jury to decide the penalties they will receive the leadership of the members of this criminal gang, the gang of neo-Nazis, the Golden Dawn. Now we'll shift to Greek to speak about and to introduce you about the two winners, the two whistleblowers, the Greek whistleblowers, were also honoring today. Okay, I'm shifting to Greek. Λοιπόν, η περιπέτεια.
Katarina, Kelesi, and Massimo Karasi are the pseudonyms given to these two individuals, and their adventure started in autumn 2017 when they were given witness protection status, and they started giving information on the big Novartis scandal. This scandal cost the Greek citizens millions of euro. And let me say that this happened at a time where there was a serious economic crisis, and because of this, millions of people didn't even have a few euro to buy medicine. Novartis was making millions, and of course, those who were cooperating with them in the corruption network set up in Greece were also lining their pockets. Thanks to these two individuals that we're awarding the prize to today and the information they provided and the witnesses that are cooperating with the US justice system, Novartis was obliged to reach an out-of-court settlement in the United States. And on the basis of this out-of-court settlement, they're going to have to pay the U.S. state $345 million. $345 million. Out of this total, which is of course a huge amount, $310 million are linked to the practices, Novartis practices in Greece. So this is an unprecedented punishment meted out to Novartis, but despite that, the Greek government hasn't turned against Novartis, even though in Europe, France has done so, Italy has done so, their governments have done so, in relation to scandals linked to Novartis, which are much smaller in scope than here. Massimo Saravis and Katarina Kelesi not only didn't get any awards for their contribution to fighting against corruption, but they even became the targets of an unprecedented bullying campaign. They made statements in court against politicians, including a former commissioner and former ministers, and these individuals actually sued these two witnesses. A great part of the media also attacked them, and they published their potential real names, despite the fact that the law says that the media shouldn't publish the names of witnesses under a witness protection program and that don't want to reveal their identity. So on the basis of these publications and leaks, there were attacks on these two individuals' houses. There were people that started looking for them. As a result, these protected witnesses had to go into hiding and change address, change home. Their children couldn't continue going to school because of this. So, and you can imagine the financial impact on the witnesses. At the moment, there's still people trying to uncover their identities, and if their identities are uncovered and made public, you can imagine that this will have huge financial consequences because of this campaign, because of this barrage of lawsuits. So this prize, this award, is a way of us showing solidarity it's symbolic, it's a gesture which I believe will provide them with financial support in, excuse me, not financial, the speaker corrects himself, it will give them moral backing, psychological support in this huge battle that they are carrying out. This is a battle to uncover the truth. And this is an attempt to make sure that we have proper rule of law in Greece and that we fight corruption. So I'd like to take advantage of this opportunity to thank the members of the jury that decided on who to award the prize to, as well as all the members of GUI and Marisa and Garrett's teams that worked very hard to make this event a success. Thank you.
Vielen Dank, Stelios. Vielen Dank für die Präsentation der weiteren Preisträger.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now we'll watch a video.
NGL team of the European Parliament for the honor of awarding me the first prize for protecting witnesses consists a moral reward for everyone who has tried to reveal the truth, a scandal which has costed millions of euros to Greek public funds. We have received many threats and attacks by those who tried to scare us, to intimidate us and to stop us from telling the truth. Our families were also targets of those attacks, and they have paid the price through a disruption in their everyday lives. This award, which constitutes an ethical recognition of our efforts to tell the truth, give us the courage to continue to tell it in the next steps of the investigation, no matter the cost. Thank you again.
I would like to thank the European Parliament and especially the GUE NGL team for this special award. It's really a great honor to me to be recognized for my contribution in the continued struggle against corruption. The Novartis scandal is a white-collar crime international scandal, but it also had a huge impact to Greek society and Greek economy. All the people who told the truth and tried to reveal the truth in this case suffered severe retaliation. They were intimidated, they were threatened, they were slandered. However, I think that this is the right thing to do. I encourage other people to take the decision to tell the truth, whatever it takes. It is a matter of social justice and democracy. Thank you.
Ja, vielen Dank.
Thank you very much. Thank you for these presentations. We can see that those who published the truth are threatened. They are fighting for democracy and social justice, and they are attacked by criminals that are trying to harm society. So let me say that unfortunately we have too many examples, way too many examples. There are a lot of bold people who are trying to speak out, and Marisa will present the next set of winners.
Obrigada mais uma vez.
Thank you again, Martin. So I will be announcing the third and final winner of this year's edition. This time it is a woman who doesn't need to be introduced, but I will say a few words about her anyway. Chelsea Manning. Unfortunately, in this session, we won't be able to see a video from Chelsea Manning accepting this prize because she is unwell and has not been able to send in a video in time. The sound won't allow for it to be shown now. However, the video will be available straight after this session. We take a few moments to rectify the sound problems, and it was sent around to all journalists, and we'll make it public. So we don't need to introduce Chelsea Manning, but I think we should remind ourselves of why we are giving her this prize. She is an ex-analyst from the US Army, which was sent to Iraq in 2009. When she was in Iraq in 2009, she began to have access to confidential information and to war files and conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. She was able to pass very, very disturbing material to pass this to others, and it showed Iraqi civilians being murdered, unarmed Iraqi civilians. Chelsea Manning helped to publish via WikiLeaks and the press almost 750,000 documents, diplomatic documents, military documents, both classified and unclassified documents, but documents which were considered sensitive for the US government. This took place between 2010 and 2011. However, in 2020, Chelsea Manning still requires our protection. Manning was detained for the first time in May 2010, roughly a month after publishing the documents. She was charged with 22 crimes, including espionage. She was detained for 3 years awaiting trial without actually being charged. During this period, she was subject to practices of torture. She was sentenced by a military tribunal and given 35 years in prison. 35 years in prison and honourable discharge. In 2007, her sentence was commuted. Who thought that this was the longest sentence ever, and thought it was disproportionate, taking into account the crimes. However, Chelsea Manning was once again imprisoned in 2019, where she remained until March of this year. This time she was imprisoned for rejecting or refusing to give evidence against WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. She's 32 years old and she's lost a decade of her life. She's lost a decade because she had the courage to highlight undemocratic and abusive practice. We know how important she was for the WikiLeaks process. And this, the WikiLeaks process is one that we continue to follow, and we need to defend the role that she had in that, trying to protect democracy. She tried to highlight war crimes. Chelsea Manning, in the eyes of the US government, is a traitor, but around the world she's seen as an emblem of free speech. She helped us to highlight unacceptable activity. Now, the crime were the actions, not revealing the actions. Those who committed the crimes still have not been punished, and as Miguel said, we hope that this prize can provide moral support, as Darius said, to all whistleblowers. We also hope that they can bring consequences so that we really look at the criminal activity and protect democracy. Chelsea Manning is now free once again. She has sacrificed her own freedom and almost her own life in trying to fight for freedom of expression and for our collective good. So on behalf of the GUE NGL, thank you, Chelsea.
Vielen Dank, Marisa. Das Video.
Thank you very much. We won't be presenting Chelsea's video today. We'll be presenting it at a later date, at least as far as I've understood. So now we're going to take questions. We've got journalists and others who are following us but who aren't in our political group, so I'd like to give you the floor. You'll be able to ask questions to the jury, Stelios, Miguel, and Marisa. They'll answer your questions with great pleasure. And then if we have time left, I'll give the floor to the MEPs of our group, in case there are more questions. Alexandros will go first. You have the floor, Alexandros.
Alexandros Servas.
Alexandros Servas, you have the floor.
Mr. Servas, please press on the speak button.
Good morning from Greece. There was an attempt to kill the witnesses linked to Novartis, and Stelios Kouloglou talked at length about this. So I'd like to know whether you think that the European institutions could contribute to protecting whistleblowers. Thank you.
Wir sammeln erstmal ein paar Fragen, bevor.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a few questions and then we'll ask the jury to reply. So we're going to collect a few questions first. I've got the following people on my list: Maria Psara and Evangelos Triandas. Maria, you have the floor.
Ms. Psara, we are refreshing your connection.
Dann während wir die Verbindung wiederherstellen zu.
So while we try and reconnect with Maria, I'm going to give the floor to Triandas. Please press on the speak button.
Κυρία Ψαρά, μπορεί να πατήσετε το speak.
Mrs. Psara, can you click on the speak button? Yes, good morning.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for the whole thing you're doing today. It's really important for the whistleblowers, for journalists, and for investigative journalists. A question, if I may. You said that it is an ethical support to the whistleblowers, especially in Novartis, but in the other cases too. How this ethical support can be more practical? I mean, what and who has to do things, which things, in order to protect those people and to make things working on the field? Because we see that in many countries, whistleblowers face real problems, sometimes existential. Thank you very much.
Vielen Dank, Frau Psara. Ihre Frage wird gleich.
Thank you. But now we will answer your questions when we've heard to Mr. Evangelios, please.
Okay. Herr Evangelos muss sich dann neu zuschalten. Dann würde ich Dimitris bitten.
Sorry, we need Mr. Evangelos to reconnect, but Dimitris asked for the floor, so you have the floor, please, Dimitris.
After the answers to the questions of the journalists, I would like to say something.
Can we refresh the connection with Mr. Evangelos then?
He's completely gone.
All right. Are there any further questions from journalists now? He's back. So, Mr. Evangelos, please take the floor.
Κύριε Τριάντα, έχετε το λόγο. Μπορείτε να...
Mr. Triandas, you have the floor. Can you press on the speak button, please? Can you hear me? There is no image, I'm afraid. If there's no image, there can't be interpretation. So there's no image. You need to turn on your video. What can I do?
Μέρα σας δεν είναι καλυμμένη. Βλέπω ότι φαίνεται ενεργή, αλλά δεν σας βλέπω.
We cannot see you. Maybe there's something covering your camera. Yes, just give me a few minutes, please.
Τώρα.
Όχι ακόμα.
No, we still can't see you.
Να κάνω έτσι ερώτηση ή δεν θέλει να φανεί και το πρόσωπο?
Θα ελέγξουμε την έδρα.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, you can, of course, raise your question. Could you do it maybe in English? Because we do not have any video connection. Your question cannot be translated or interpreted.
Or Martin, you can do it in Greek and then tell his answer.
Yes. All right. So just raise your question and we will deal with it then. Yeah.
Στα ελληνικά ή στα αγγλικά?
English or Greek? It would be better if the speaker could do it in English.
Otherwise, we need to improvise and someone else will translate your question.
Okay.
All right. Please, go ahead.
In Greece, the whistleblowers about Novartis have been targeted by politicians who were investigated by the Greek authorities for their possible involvement in the Novartis case. They have been called liars. They have threatened them that they will reveal their identities and many more things like this. How do you judge all this from Greek politicians in a country like Greece, which is a member of the European state?
Yes, thank you very much for this question. And then I have one further request from a journalist. Please wait. And this will be Mr. Kostas Zafiropoulos. Please take the floor.
Κύριε Ζαφυρόπουλε, η κάμερα αλλά και το...
Mr. Zafiropoulos, both your mic and video are off. You need to click on the buttons on the left-hand corner to turn them both on.
Η κάμερα ενεργοποιήθηκε και το μικρόφωνο, παρακαλώ.
The camera seems to be on, but you need to turn your mic on. Yes, good morning. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So, hi, I'm Kostas Zafiropoulos. I'm a Greek journalist from the Greek daily Εφημερίδα των Συντακτών. I would like to pose a similar question regarding the Novartis case. And I would like to say that Novartis controlled the information, manipulated the political system, having a dominant position in our country and having huge benefits for worldwide. The only real conspiracy in this case in Greece is the attempt of the governing majority to turn the perpetrators of the scandal into victims and the accusers into defendants. I would like a comment about the fact that the Minister of Development, Mr. Adonis Georgiadis, did not hesitate to speak about the bastard witnesses who have testified it against him. It's a similar question, but I would like your comment about that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And now I have one last request from a journalist to take the floor. This is Maria Panagiotou. Please take the floor. And sorry for the pronunciation.
Κυρία Παναγιώτου, μπορείτε να πατήσετε.
Mrs. Panagiotou, can you click on the speak button, please? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good morning. Good morning from Athens. I'm a Greek journalist. I work for the Democracy newspaper. We recently read a report by the Commission on our country and the rule of law situation in Greece. Among other things, it talked about the situation for public prosecution witnesses and other witnesses. When it comes to public prosecution witnesses, the connection is lost, I'm afraid.
Vielen Dank für diese Fragen und ich schlage.
Thank you for these questions. I would suggest as follows to answer the questions. I'd like to start by giving the floor to our colleague Stelios Kouloglou to respond to those questions linked to Novartis affair, and then I'd like to give the floor to Miguel after that for the questions on the EU and protection of whistleblowers, and then finally I'll ask Marisa to conclude this agenda point. Dimitri just wanted to say something as well, so I haven't forgotten that, but I'd like to give the floor first to Stelios, please.
Concerning the ways to protect whistleblowers in Greece, concerning the Novartis scandal, and what could we do in the European Union, in Brussels, and in the European Parliament specifically. Those are a couple of questions. The others two concerns the political personnel and the reaction to what the whistleblowers have said. Well, concerning the protection, what we have done during the previous mandate in the European Parliament is to vote after 2 years of discussion, negotiation, etc., a very positive law concerning a directive concerning the protection of the whistleblowers. That is well advanced compared with most of the national legislations in the different member states. The problem is that, as you know, there is a period from the vote of the directive up to the moment every member state has to adopt to its own legislation the general directive. And we are here now. We're here in Greece. This legislation is not yet introduced in the Greek legislation, and this is another problem because up to now the Greek legislation does not sufficiently protect the whistleblowers. What can we do? What more can we do here? I don't think we have yet to improve the legislation, the directives protecting whistleblowers. And one thing we have to do is to provide them with financial assistance and recompensation when they disclose secrets that disclose and fight against corruption. I think what the United States are doing is much better, because as I know from the experience of the Greek whistleblowers in the Novartis case, they were completely destroyed. As far as not only their career, their life is in danger. They are facing, they lost their jobs. The family, the whole family is suffering. How? And then they don't know what finally it will happen. So how a person would take the responsibility for not only for itself but also for the family, for its family, to go under such a heavy pressure and hardship. That's why I think we have to improve more the legislation, the European one, and the directive. This is what can we do. As far as the responsibilities of the political leaders in Greece, which are facing accusations or allegations, if you want, from the whistleblowers. This is without precedent. In every European country, when a politician is accused or is under investigation, he complies with the investigation. In this, we have completely the opposite. They are attacking the investigation. They are attacking the special prosecutor. They are attacking the whistleblowers. And this is, of course, something it goes against the rule of law in Greece. We don't have a full separation of the different powers. The justice is under attack from the political system and the government, and this reminds us more of Hungary than a European member state that respects the rule of law. That's all.
Ja, vielen Dank, Stelios. Miguel, bitte.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Miguel, please. I think there's two key points that we've been asked about. Firstly, what legislation do we have to protect whistleblowers? And I think Stelios has mentioned this, the directive that we approved following the trilogue in April 2019 in the previous legislature. The problem is the transposition of that directive into national law. Moreover, there's another important point, a point that we criticised in that directive. We said the directive didn't go far enough. We said the directive protected whistleblowers and assured immunity and anonymity. However, it didn't cover journalists and NGOs. For example, there would be certain people on our shortlist who wouldn't be covered by this directive. Corrective wouldn't be included, Rui Pinto wouldn't be included, Julian Assange wouldn't be covered, wouldn't fall under the scope of the directive. That's why we criticised the scope of the directive with Panama Papers, Tax 3 Committee, and also on the point on information, right to information and whistleblowers. We have always enlarged the scope, not just to whistleblowers, but to those individuals who defend the right to information, so including journalists and NGOs. So what is this prize for? This prize doesn't provide protection, explicit protection to those who we are awarding the prize to, but we think that this is a way of trying to provide more protection. Our aim has been to achieve an official European Parliament prize, and we've achieved that. So that's another important point to highlight. The official prize from the European Parliament should ensure effective protection for those individuals who are nominated and who win the prize. Also, we could hope that the European Parliament will become involved in specific cases. We've seen it with the Sakharov Prize, for example. The European Parliament has become involved in cases ensuring a fair trial, ensuring an end to persecution, etc., etc. This is something that should also be done with the European Parliament Prize for Protection of Whistleblowers, and we will continue pressuring for that. We will try and achieve that for the 2021 edition. Obviously, that is never enough protection. We should look at what happened last night in Honduras. Our parliamentary group and the Greens had nominated the environmental defenders of Rio Guapinol and Berta Cáceres. Berta Cáceres was assassinated, and we are nominating her and the other environmental defenders in Honduras. yes, last night one of the environmental defenders from that group was murdered, and we say that we reject this violence in Honduras. We want to see an end to the violence in Honduras, and there's something we're trying to do with this. So we're trying to defend human rights defenders of the right to information, and this is something which is absolutely vital for our group.
Vielen Dank, Miguel. Und jetzt möchte
Thank you, Miguel. And I'd like to give the floor to Mitris for his comments, and then Maria, please.
I'd like to add to what Stelios said about Greece. And let me say that it's not enough to have legislation. You also have to make sure that it's implemented and enforced, because you have the government, you have the media, but and unfortunately even judges that break the law in order to mask or scandals. And this is the reality in Greece. They just talked about it, how they're trying to sweep everything under the carpet. But I think we also need stronger EU legislation, not only for the protection of whistleblowers, but also to make sure that financial scandals such as money laundering scandals come to light. A few weeks ago, we had the FinCEN scandal. We're talking about billions of dollars. And at the moment, it's just national authorities that are tackling this. But if we're talking about an international crime, a global crime, then you need international cooperation, and you need strong legislation with punishment and in the exchange of information. Otherwise, you can't fight against this. And another thing I wanted to say is that the Syriza group in GUI put questions to the Commission and Olaf asking how they're dealing with this corruption scandal in Greece. Unfortunately, the answer we got that, it's the national authorities that are dealing with that. It's the national judicial authorities that are dealing with that. As Stelios said, Novartis has had to shell out huge amounts in the United States because of this international scandal, even though most of the scandal actually took place in Europe and especially in Greece. In Greece, we haven't had a single cent. And not only that, there seemed to be threatening the whistleblowers. So even though we've had this 3-year delay, the European Parliament Bureau unanimously adopted the Daphne Caruana Galizia Award. That will be an EP award. But we have to make sure that this is awarded on the basis of independent criteria, and it doesn't serve specific interests, because we've had these situations in the past in the European Parliament. So we've achieved something important. A big thank you and congratulations to Marisa, Stelios and Miguel for their initiative. But we have to make sure that this prize is awarded on the basis of independent criteria and that it doesn't serve specific political interests. Thank you.
Marisa.
Thank you, Dimitris. Marisa, please. Thank you. I'll be brief. I just want to close this award ceremony. All the information is transparent and everything's published so that it's registered as part of this ceremony. But I'd like to say, just so it's said, that in addition to those 3 individuals who have won today, there's 3 other nominations. In fact, there were many, many nominations, but we had a short list of 6 nominees. The 3 nominees who didn't win today also did deserve to win this. Did deserve to win this prize. Glenn Greenwald, who's a journalist and author, and one of the co-founders of Intercept. We are aware of the work done by Mr. Greenwald. He was awarded a Pulitzer Prize for his work. This is on the work of Edward Snowden in relation to the National Security Agency, the NSA, in the USA. He's had a very important role, and also deserved this prize but wasn't a winner today. We also have Eileen Chubb. Eileen Chubb was one of the founders of the network of whistleblowers for care home abuse in the United Kingdom. This is unfortunately a reality which has become more present during the pandemic. She began to whistleblowing on this work. She also created a support line for all whistleblowers for care home abuse. She did this to protect the whistleblowers, and again, another individual who could have won today and did deserve to win today. Finally, we have Omar Rojas Bolanos, a Colombian whistleblower, a former colonel in the Colombian police. For over 10 years, he investigated extrajudicial killings, thousands of men and women who were killed by police and law enforcement and army, and also by the government directly. This was very important work, along with the Santo Tomas University. He highlighted, revealed these practices, and this was known as the false positives. That was the name of this work. It showed how thousands of innocent people were assassinated or kidnapped as part of a national campaign to supposedly improve statistics in the country, statistics on the fight against the armed force group FARC. These are lives, individuals who have focused on revealing human rights violations and whistleblowing in many countries and in many different sectors. Now, these three other people have not won, but as this has been an online ceremony, the GUE NGO group has decided that the resources that we've saved by having an online-only ceremony will be distributed to the three other nominees who were on the shortlist, and the winners will obviously have a financial prize, but the three other members of the shortlist will also receive the money that we've saved by having an online-only ceremony today. To close, I'd like to thank the jury once again: Matthew Caruana Galizia, Stephanie Gibault, Ana Gomes, Miguel Angil, as well as colleagues Stelios, Miguel and myself. I would also like to thank Marta Vasileos, Oteo, Nuno, Ben, and all of the communication team and the staff here for the relentless work over the past few months. Once again, I would also like to say that we feel we've done our duty, and we hope that this prize, which will now become an official European Parliament prize, will not become subject to political pressure, as Dimitri said. We hope it's not used as a tool for political battles. We hope it is what it always has been, to honour those who fight on a daily basis, who risk their lives on a daily basis, and to support democracy. Thank you very much. And with that, close the third GUE NGL Whistleblower Prize. Thank you very much.
Vielen Dank, Marisa. Vielen Dank, Stelios. Vielen Dank, Miguel, für eure Arbeit.
Thank you very much, Marisa, Miguel, and Stelios, for your work on the jury and for all the work done by your teams. And on behalf of Daphne Caruana Galizia's sister, I'd like to say that she thanked us once again for the work that we're doing on behalf of her sister, and she thanks us very warmly and congratulates all the prize winners. This is an initiative taken by our group, and it reflects the diversity within our group and our usefulness within the European Parliament, because we are the ones who defend the rights of whistleblowers, journalists, and those who defend the right to information and freedom of press. We're not going to give in. We're going to continue our battle. We're going to continue our struggle and make sure that prizes are awarded with maximum transparency. We're going to continue our work in the interest of all the prize winners and even those who haven't won prizes, but who allow us to do our democratic work thanks to the work that they do. And then I'd like to go back to our agenda, our normal political group agenda. So now